The night was unusually silent, the kind of silence that echoes louder than noise. In a small, worn-out house at the edge of a quiet village, a mother sat near the window, her frail hands holding an old photograph close to her chest. The picture had faded over time, but the memory within it was still alive. Her little son, barely 5 years old, laughing freely as he held on to her sari, refusing to let go. Her lips curved into a soft smile, but her eyes filled with tears. That little boy had once been her entire world, and even now, after all these years, he still was. Life had never been easy for her. After her husband passed away suddenly, she was left alone to raise her only son. There were nights when she went to bed hungry just to make sure her child had enough to eat. She worked endlessly, stitching clothes for neighbors, cleaning houses, doing whatever she could to earn a few extra rupees. Her hands grew rough, her back ached constantly, but she never complained. Every sacrifice she made felt small compared to the happiness of seeing her son smile. When he was young, he would cling to her like she was his entire universe. He couldn't sleep without her stories she often made up on the spot, even when she was exhausted beyond words. Sometimes she would fall asleep mid-sentence, and he would gently shake her, saying, "Ma, what happened next?" She would smile, hide her tiredness, and continue the story, just to see that sparkle in his eyes. To him, she was his hero, the one who could fix everything, who could chase away every fear. As the years passed, that little boy grew into a bright, ambitious young man. He studied hard, determined to change their lives. The mother watched him with pride, her heart swelling with hope. She dreamed of the day when he would succeed, when he would live a life far better than the one she had endured. And when that day finally came, when he got a job in the city, it felt like her prayers had been answered. The day he left was the hardest day of her life. She packed his bags carefully, placing small things inside, his favorite snacks, a warm sweater she had knitted, and a small box filled with homemade sweets. She tried to smile, hiding the storm inside her heart. As he touched her feet and said, "Ma, I'll come back soon and take you with me," she nodded, holding back tears. She stood at the door long after he left, watching the empty road, as if hoping he might turn back one last time. In the beginning, he called every day. He told her about the city, his work, the new people he met. She would listen quietly, her heart full, imagining his life through his words. But slowly, the calls became shorter, then less frequent. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Whenever she missed him, she would pick up the phone, dial his number, and then cut the call before it connected. She didn't want to disturb him. He must be busy, she would tell herself. Her routine became simple. Wake up early, do her chores, sit by the window, and wait. Every evening she would glance at the road, hoping to see him walking towards her. Festivals came and went, but the house remained quiet. She still cooked his favorite dishes on special days, placing an extra plate on the table as if he might suddenly walk in and surprise her. One day she decided to write him a letter. She wasn't very educated, so her words were simple, but they were filled with love. She wrote about her days, about how much she missed him, about how proud she was. But when she finished, she folded the letter and kept it in a box instead of sending it. "He must be busy," she whispered. That one letter turned into many. Whenever her heart felt heavy, she would write to him, letters filled with love, pain, memories, and silent prayers, but none of them were ever sent. Time passed, and her health began to fail. The once strong woman who had carried the weight of the world on her shoulders now struggled to even stand. Her hands trembled, her voice grew weaker, but her heart still waited. Neighbors often asked about her son, and she would always smile proudly, saying, "He's doing very well. He will come soon." No one knew how much she longed to see him, just once. Meanwhile, in the busy city, Her son was lost in the race of life. He worked day and night, chasing success, promotions, and recognition. He had everything: money, comfort, a good life, but something always felt missing. He ignored that feeling, telling himself it was just stress. He convinced himself that he would visit his mother someday when he had more time. One evening, while cleaning his apartment, he came across an old box tucked away in a corner. Curious, he opened it. Inside were the letters his mother had packed for him years ago, along with many others he had never seen before. Confused, he started reading them one by one. Each letter was like a piece of her heart, filled with love, longing, and words she never had the courage to say out loud. Some letters spoke about her loneliness, some about her memories of his childhood, and some were simply prayers for his happiness. As he read, his hands began to shake. Tears blurred his vision. He realized how blind he had been, how far he had drifted from the one person who had sacrificed everything for him. The emptiness he had been feeling suddenly made sense. It wasn't stress, it was the absence of the only love that had ever truly mattered. Without wasting a second, he packed his bag and left for the village that very night. The journey felt endless. His heart was filled with fear, regret, and hope all at once. What if I'm too late? The thought kept haunting him. When he finally reached home, the door was slightly open. His hands trembled as he pushed it gently and stepped inside. The house looked the same, yet different, quieter, emptier. He walked slowly towards her room and saw her lying on the bed, weak and fragile, barely recognizable from the strong woman he once knew. He rushed to her side, holding her hand tightly. "Ma, I'm here," he whispered, his voice breaking. For a moment there was no response. Then, slowly, her eyes opened. She looked at him, as if trying to believe what she was seeing. A faint smile appeared on her lips, the kind of smile that carried years of waiting and unconditional love. She raised her trembling hand and touched his face. "You came," she whispered softly. At that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the city, not the success, not the lost time. He broke down, resting his head on her lap, crying like the little boy he once was. "I'm sorry, Ma. I'm so sorry," he repeated, his voice filled with regret. She gently stroked his hair, just like she used to when he was a child. There was no anger in her eyes, no complaint, only love, endless, unconditional love. That night, sitting beside her, holding her hand, he realized a truth that no success in the world could ever teach him, that a mother's love is the purest form of love, one that asks for nothing but gives everything. And no matter how far you go in life, no matter how much you achieve, if you lose that connection, you lose a part of yourself. In that quiet, fragile moment, he understood that home was never a place. It was always his mother.